Some frequently asked questions that we get asked a lot of times from guests up here are things like, is the light still operational? Yes, this is an active aid to navigation. It's still owned by the Coast Guard, and the beacon itself is still operated by the Coast Guard. We have a lighthouse keeper on staff here that dusts the lens and every Saturday with a feather duster, gives it an annual deep cleaning following a 14-page instruction from the Coast Guard using distilled water and alcohol. But yes, this is still an operational active aid to navigation. We use a first order Fresnel lens, which was the largest of the 6 different sizes. There's only 13 in the United States this order still in use tonight. We shine out 27 nautical miles on a clear night. We use a single 1,000-watt halogen light bulb. There's a second bulb up there that rotates in if the primary burns out. And it comes on automatically at night with a light sensor on the north side of the building. So another common question we get is, how old is the lighthouse? Well, at the making of this video, we're 163 years old. The lighthouse was built between 1856 and 1858, and it was first illuminated on New Year's Day, 1859. The light at that point used whale oil for lamp illumination, and to make the lens turn as it does now was a grandfather clock mechanism. There was a weight-mounted cart bolted to the floor, and the 100-pound weight hung down through this floor and the next, and had to be rewound every 2 hours in order to keep the light moving, the lens moving at nighttime. Another common question we get asked from guests is, why does the lens turn, and why is the tower 2 different colors? Well, let's split that up first. So the lens turns because every lighthouse has a different flash pattern. This lighthouse makes a white flash every 20 seconds. In order to do that back in the day, you couldn't turn an oil lamp on and off every 20 seconds. So the only way to create a flash in the 1850s was to put patterns in the glass and rotate it on a carousel. That still produces the same flash the same way now. The only difference is now it uses a 3/4 electric motor, and back then it used a grandfather clock with a 100-pound weight that had to be rewound every 2 hours. So a lot of guests ask why the tower is painted 2 different colors. That's along the same lines as the light making a flash every 20 seconds. It's a unique identifying marking of this light station. So at night, the mariners have a chart, and they're looking for a white flash every 20 seconds to know that they're in Pensacola. During the daytime, however, the light's not on. The windows were often covered with curtains to keep the sun out. So they would use the daytime coloring of the tower to know that they're entering Pensacola Pass instead. The interesting thing was, though, for the first 10 years, from 1859 to 1869, the tower was solid white. The problem with that is on a cloudy winter day, which we have a lot of here in Pensacola, the white would just disappear into the daytime sky and couldn't be seen. So in 1869, 10 years after the light was first illuminated and after the Civil War was completed, the top 2/3 of the tower were painted black. That now makes us stand out like a sore thumb. If you've been to other lighthouses in this state, specifically in Florida, we have almost every daymark example that I can think of off the top of my head. Another common question we get asked a lot is if this is the original lens. And the answer is yes. This lens dates back to first doing its job on New Year's Day, 1859. I don't have the exact manufacture date, but again, it's been up here in the lens room since then. Now, it's had a long, interesting life. It was first lit again on New Year's Day, 1859. May of 1861, the lens was removed by section and taken up to Montgomery, Alabama during the Civil War by the Confederates that were stationed here. Kind of a pirate move. They didn't want the North being able to use this as a navigational aid during the Civil War. Now, there was no light at all for about a year and a half, and then sometime in late 1862, the South rolled out and the Union rolled in, and the North put a 4th order lens temporarily at the top of this tower. Now, a 4th order lens would have been a Christmas light bulb compared to the 1st order lens that belongs up here, but that's what they did. And then in 1869, the 4th order lens was removed. We're not sure where it went after that, but that's when the 1st order lens came back from Montgomery and got reinstalled in the tower. Now, it wasn't very hard to put Humpty Dumpty back together again when they got it back here. because when the French made this, Henry Lepaute was the manufacturer over in Paris. They had the foresight to number this lens. So every section of this lens is stamped with numbers 1 through 8, so they would have known when they assembled it where each piece went. So a lot of people ask how the lens turned prior to electricity being installed. And if you've seen the dates, electricity was installed in 1939. And at that time, the oil lamp was removed and we switched over to an arc lamp system, which would have looked nothing like what you've got in your living room now. It's my belief that they switched over to arc lamp and still had the weight mechanism that turned the lens still at that time. And again, the lens rotated on a grandfather clock mechanism, which had to be rewound every 2 hours to make it turn. 1965 is when we were automated. That's when any resemblance of current light bulbs were installed at the top, and that's when the weight mechanism was removed and the 3/4 horsepower motor installed. Now the lens rotates electrically, and as you can see now that it's daylight outside, it also turns all the time. The reason for that is even when the lamp is not lit, the sun shines back in through the same focal plane that the light bulb shines out. So at this day and age, we're not up here with keepers every day opening and closing the curtains that once hung. The lens must stay in motion at all times, otherwise the sun will focus on one spot and fry the electrical work. It has also burnt marks onto the walls before during power outages and things like that. So the lens has to stay rotating at all times. The biggest question we probably get up here by everyone, whether they're a lighthouse fanatic or not, is how high are we? So the Pensacola Lighthouse is officially marked at 151 feet above ground. That makes us the third tallest in Florida. St. Augustine is 165, Ponce Inlet is 175. Those are both on the east coast of Florida. The interesting thing is, though, our lens is 10 feet higher than us right now. That, when you add in the 40-foot hill that we sit on at the base, puts the light 191 feet over sea level. That makes us the tallest, the highest focal plane of any Florida lighthouse. Because again, Ponce Inlet and St. Augustine are built flat on the beach, so their tower heights are really similar to what their focal plane is.